Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Mohammed RAHMAN. Today I'll be presenting on the introduction of casting, the objectives of our group in this experiment, and the original pattern that's to be used in the casting process. So what is casting? Casting is basically a process that involves pouring molten metal, especially molten aluminium, into a mold with a cavity of the shape that's to be designed and allowing the molten metal to cool down. Once the molten metal cools down, the metal will form into the shape and the metal objects taken out of the mold, either by breaking the mold or taking it apart. So our group objectives are listed here. The first objective is to have a basic understanding about how sand casting works. The second objective is to be able to create a casting whose geometry resembles that of the original pattern. Last but not the least is to ensure that the casting does not have any visible defects or cracks on it. So here is our original pattern. This is an Allen key. It's made out of pine wood. And here's a technical drawing of the Allen key with the standard views, front view, top view, right side view, and isometric view. The dimensions of the Allen key are given in millimeters. Now, my friend Sabrina will explain the processes of casting. Stay tuned.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. My name is NURAIN Sabrina, and I'm going to describe on the procedure to do sand casting. So the first thing we need to know is that the molding box has two parts, the upper part and the lower part. The upper part is called the cope, and the lower part is called the drag. So the first step we need to do is to invert the lower part of the flask, which is the drag, and to place the pattern in the drag. The pattern should not touch the flask, and we should also leave some space in the corner to make a round connector. Next, we need to sprinkle some parting powder on top of the box and the pattern. So the purpose of the parting powder is to ease the process of removing the pattern later. Next, we fill in the drag with sand and press it using our fingers, and we can also use hand rammers to ram onto the sand to make it firm. So we need to continue to fill in the sand until it is full, and we need to level off the sand with a stripping bar until it has a nice flat firm surface. And then we need to turn the drag and put the coat on top of it. We also need to sprinkle some parting powder inside the coat. So at this part, the parting powder gives two purposes, which is the first one is to ease the removing process of the pattern, and it also helps not to make the sand from these two boxes stick together. Next, we can place a screw pin in the corner of the coat. It should not touch the flask, and it should also not touch the pattern. And we repeat the process of filling the box with sand and pressing and ramming it until it is full, and then we can level off the sand with a stripping bar. We can also use any other useful tools to help level off the sand in this corner part. To remove the screw pin, we need to give it the tabs and twist it gently to pull it out. After we pull out the screw pin, there will be some excess sand on top of the hole, so we need to use a trowel to remove the sand. After removing the excess sand on top of the hole, we have to dig a pouring basin near the hole to help us pour the molten metal later. So this placing hole helps to reduce the velocity of the molten metal sliding into the hole. We also need to poke little holes into the sand to make some bend holes so that it can allow any air to escape through it. My friend Amelia will continue to describe the process.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is DAYANGKU Amelia, and I will continue presenting the procedure. So the next step is to split the flask and remove the pattern out from the drag. And we can do it gently by tapping on it gently using a hammer, because we do not want the sand to break down altogether. The next step is to cut a small ball in the exact same spot as the screw pin. And as you can see, the small ball will be right here and the pattern cast will be right here. So we need to connect them with a git. And it was a very good practice actually to make sure that there is no loose sand inside the case. So we can actually do it by blowing, simply blow the case. And to make sure there is nothing get into your eyes, please wear goggles for this step. The next step requires you to wear PPE actually to protect yourself from the chemicals and the heats. So the next step is to melt aluminium in a pot using a burner. And after the aluminium is fully melted, you can turn off the burner and let it cool down for 10 to 15 minutes. Next, we combine the flask back together and pour the melted aluminium into the pouring machine, not directly into the runner, but into the pouring machine to reduce the pressure. And please use a tongs so that you will not hurt your hand because the pot will be extremely hot. The next step is to let the mold cool down and the metal to solidify for about 10 to 15 minutes, and then you can open the flask and remove the casting from the sand. Make sure you do not touch the casting with your hand because it is still hot at this moment actually. And as you can see here, you are pouring the metal into this pouring machine, get to the runner, the gate, and the small ball. So some metal will actually remain here and solidify at this part. So that's why you need to cut the runner and the gate of the casting to have this final product that you want. So the next is the final supposed product. So as you can see here, actually, the final supposed product will be smaller in dimension due to the metal properties where when it cools down, it will shrink. And this is actually one of the few limitations of using sand casting. That's why in industry, people will actually use a bigger pattern so that the final product will match the exact dimension that we want. This is our reference list, and the first link here is actually the link provided by our lecturers, and all the procedures that we have presented is actually based on this video accordingly. And this is our other reference that we use to make our report. And I think that is all from us. We apologize for any shortcoming. We hope you can enjoy our presentation and benefit a lot from it. I think that's all, and thank you and have a nice day.